You guys have been eating up these Italian sub reviews, so I figured let's make another one. There's a newish Italian deli that opened up kind of in my vicinity, so I figured let's go check it out. Let's hop in the car, get down there, see what they got. There's something that caught my eye that we're gonna talk about here. I really can't wait to try it. Looking for one very specific thing, and I think I stumbled onto so much more that I wasn't expecting to find today. We have the sub. Now, what caught my eye about this sub, it's a specific sub on their menu at Raffaelle's Italian Deli and Imports. There was something special about it. So you could even see it's actually boxed off on their menu here. The VITTORIO. Salami, pepperoni, ham, capicola, prosciutto, mortadella, soppressata, provolone, lettuce, tomato, onion with house dressing. That basically takes every single Italian meat that you could get and puts it on one sandwich. When I used to work in my dad's deli, this is kind of an homage to my dad's deli. His deli was called Famous Delilicious, and you know, I used to have the derryx blog. So this design, which you can get all different bags, t-shirts, even face masks, you click the link in the description. We used to make two types of Italian subs. The first was your regular Italian combination, ham, salami, provolone, lettuce, tomato, onion, oil, and vinegar. And then we used to have what was called a special Italian sub. Let me see if I can remember even what went into that. Ham, mortadella, Genoa salami, provolone, and capicola, but not like ham capicola. It was actually a homemade capicola that my dad used to make. Anyway, I'm talking too much. We got to get right into this sandwich. I had to order that, and plus I got an uncle VITTORIO, so I had to know more about the story and see what the sub's all about. Without any ado, let's get into this bag. Man. This thing is an absolute beast. Let me unwrap and talk. I do have a lot to say about the sandwich. I got to talk to the owner of Raffaelle's, which his name is Raffaele. We'll get to that too, but we got to get into this sub because, man, it even smells good already. Oh yeah, wow, man. I actually, I don't know what to say. Let's just roll up the sleeves because this one we're gonna have to get down and dirty. This is gonna answer what happens when you mix all of these meats on the same sandwich, because I guess I've always been curious. Really interesting. So there was actually something that I made a mistake here with this sandwich. You could either get it on the soft Italian roll, the crusty Italian roll, and if you remember back to the last video, you always got to go with the crusty. But they also have a ciabatta option. Now, I usually don't go for the ciabatta option because it's usually a square roll. I should have actually asked before I ordered this because when I talked to him, he said the bread comes from Napoli, but it was a special loaf that they developed between the two of them because he knows the guy from Napoli. They went to school together. This honestly tastes exactly like the Napoli bread. So that might be one of those Calabrese embellishments that I'm used to growing up in a Calabrese family. But I'm willing to look past that. The ciabatta bread that they had there looked really good. Definitely crusty, but not in the same way as this. This is like pretty hard on the outside, whereas I think that ciabatta would have been a little bit softer. I think is actually the way to go with this sandwich. So let's talk about what's inside. Even if I didn't see the Boar's Head signs all over their store, it's very clear that they're using Boar's Head brand meats to me because I grew up slicing these meats for my entire adolescence. Basically, the one thing I'm gonna say that actually is a little bit of a downside to this, it's the same type of thing that you see at the other places where they lay everything out on this sandwich rather than piling it on there. However, because you have so many different layers of meats, I think when you're gonna do, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different meats, I think you've got to do it as a stack like this. They're sliced a little bit on the thicker side. I would slice a little bit thinner. The prosciutto is actually sliced perfectly. The salamis, I think, are a little bit on the thick side. But that's a nitpick. As far as the taste of this thing, it's absolutely incredible. Now, I'm looking through the sandwich. I thought when I looked at everything, I didn't get mortadella, but I taste it, which is very interesting. There it is. Oh man, yeah, we got some mortadella here. Love it. Mortadella is like an Italian bologna. It's very big in Europe. It's a very good lunch meat. You don't see it as often as I think you should. Once you start getting into all these different layers of everything, a very interesting thing happens. So there's 3 different types of salami on this. What seems like a Genoa salami, soppressata, which is a sweet soppressata, pepperoni. Those all work pretty well together. The soppressata has a little bit more of an interesting flavor just because those are usually cured a little bit differently than the salami, a little bit of a coarser grind on the meat. There are 3 types of ham on this sandwich. So you have prosciutto. I think it's boiled ham, but it actually doesn't quite look like boiled ham. But then you also have the ham capicola, which is kind of standard for the Italian sandwiches up here. And then you have that mortadella, which is more of a bologna emulsification type thing, which I guess technically is a salami. That's a story for another day. Aside from the meats, you have lettuce, tomato, onion, and they have a special house dressing. He told me that it's a really good dressing. It's made with 100% olive oil. And you know, I definitely believe that. It's very rich. It's almost kind of creamy. Usually like your house vinaigrette is on the tangier side and is more like red wine vinegar based. Whereas this here, it's almost like an emulsification and it kind of blends into the lettuce. It's definitely very good. There's quite a bit of lettuce, which I think you get a lot of that chew of the lettuce. This is a monster of a sandwich. Like I said, look at this. I mean, it's just, there's absolutely no way I'm finishing all this right now, but it's gonna get finished at some point. Now, I told you when I walked into this place, I ended up finding much more than I was bargaining for. I was just going expecting to see this sandwich, try it, and to basically do a review just the same as Bella Napoli or Pellegrino or even Lyle's Hoagies, where, you know, it's an Italian sub with just those meats on it. But turns out they actually have like at least 2 other Italian subs. One's called the Calabria, but it's the same sandwich except it's missing the ham and it's missing pepperoni, and that's $1 less. Then there's a couple others. It's kind of amazing to have that, but they also do American style subs. It looks like they have pizza there, which looks amazing. They make fresh mozzarella there. I don't know if I did mention this, but the owner is from Calabria, which is where my family is from. I don't remember if he said he was from the same part of Calabria that we're from, Ionica. But aside from even all that, the store kind of has around the perimeter and interstitially some Italian imports. Some of these imports are things that I haven't seen since my days working in my dad's deli. Then they have other fresh pastas. They have some imported, and then they have others that are actually from further south in the Hudson Valley here of New York. And the other thing that was kind of remarkable about this place is usually these stores end up being very cluttered, where they're trying to maximize square footage to the point where you don't even know what you're doing. In my dad's store, we used to have not only the shelves, but there were baskets that were kind of growing from both sides, and it was always frustrating to me because there was almost no room for anybody to walk or anything. So I could be critical of anybody, including my own family. This place here didn't have that issue. It was actually laid out really, really nicely, and I was actually pretty impressed by that. Let's bring it back to the sub and take it home. The other thing that I didn't comment on yet, you probably heard me in the last video always talk about how I like to maximize the peppers on a sandwich. I figured with all those meats, there was no reason to actually go into pepper territory, because it even crossed my mind as I walked away from him. One thing that's in here that's a nice touch, I actually haven't seen in a sub up here, which I quite like, is red onion. Red onion has kind of like a sharper, a little bit more pungent kind of onion flavor. And I even went back and forth when I ordered it with him to say no onions at first. And he said, "You sure you don't want onions?" And then I read the description and onions comes on it. And then he told me the story about the sandwich. And I'm like, no, just do it with the onions. And let me tell you the story about the sandwich. Man, there's so much going on, but it's so good. So the name of the place is Raffaelle's, and I mentioned it's named after the owner who I spoke with, Raffaele. So I asked him, why is it called the Vittorio? Because it's funny to me because I have an uncle Vittorio who doesn't like going by that name. He usually abbreviates it to the American Victor. So the story Raffaele told me is that naming the sub the Vittorio is an homage to his brother. That's the way his brother likes to make the sandwich, and his brother is not in great health, so that's kind of a little bit of a dedication to him to have that on the menu. It's the featured product. Not only is it here on the front of the menu, it actually calls it out here as the home of the Vittorio. I think that's an awesome story. Maybe one day I'll have a sandwich named after me. And I obviously don't like to hear that somebody is not in great health, but I think to have a sandwich in the style of what they like, I think is a really great way to honor that person. One more thing about the sandwich and then we'll wrap it up. The provolone cheese that they use is actually pretty interesting. Normally these places really go overboard on the thickness of the cheeses that they add to these sandwiches. In this case here, the provolone cheese is sliced perfectly. And it's also actually a tastier provolone than I'm accustomed to getting at the delis up here. I wouldn't say it's a sharp provolone, but it's definitely got a little more sharpness and a little more flavor that actually stands up to all those cured meats and everything. You can actually taste it through everything, which I think is an awesome touch. The one thing I'll say is $15 is probably the most I've ever spent on an Italian sub. However, you gotta understand, you're looking at something as massive as I just showed you. It comes on fresh bread, has 7 different types of meats, cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion. This is definitely a sandwich you could split with at least 2 people. So $15 may actually end up being a bargain. I'm definitely going back to this place. There's a bunch of different subs I want to try. They have a salad case. Looks like they make arancini as well, rice balls. They have some ice cream cakes. Everything there looks good and it's very familiar. Give me a little help. What do you think I should try next? If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit it with a like and subscribe if you like food. So it seems like to me, the only thing that compares between this sandwich and Bellinopoli's sandwich is the bread. Click into this video right here and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.